Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I am here to bring you a battle between two Core Set 2021 sealed decks and the Battle of the Horde challenge deck from Born of the Gods. Because both of these decks are Mardu decks, I am going to be referring them to their sleeve color, black or red. And if you are interested in seeing how these decks were built, you can check out the links in the description box below. There'll also be links to other games that we are playing with these sealed decks. And we will be playing the challenge deck twice, first on normal difficulty and then on hard mode. And for these games we'll be using 3 hero cards. We have the Harvester, which says tap, draw a card, then discard a card. The Explorer, which says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. And the Vanquisher, which says your starting hand size is increased by 1, your maximum hand size is increased by 1. Because I only have 1 copy of each of these cards, we're going to be applying them to both decks simultaneously. We'll go ahead and get started by drawing our opening hands. Black draws a Scorching Dragonfire, Mountain, Cage Zombie, Fetid Imp, Archfiend's Vessel, Swamp, Swamp, and Swamp. We have our colors and we have things to cast, so we will keep this. Red draws a Trader's Creed, Grasp of Darkness, Mountain, Village Rites, Swamp, Fetid Imp, and Mountain, and Basri's Lieutenant. I think that this is an acceptable first hand, so we'll keep this as well. Go ahead and get started by playing a Mountain and a Swamp over here. We'll tap them both to cast a Fetid Imp. This is a 1/2 Imp with flying, and you can pay black to give it Death Touch until end of turn. Red will also play a Swamp and a Mountain and do the exact same thing. So we have 2 Fetid Imps. In normal difficulty, we'll have 3 turns before the Hydra attacks. At the end of the very first turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black will draw a Windscarred Crag, and we will discard a Swamp. Red will draw a Mountain, and we will discard Grasp of Darkness. We'll untap. Black will draw a Swamp. Red will draw a Mountain. Red will play 2 Mountains, and black will play 2 Swamps. We'll go on the attack and attack with both Fetid Imps for 2. And then black will tap out and we'll cast the Archfiend's Vessel. This is a 1/1 human cleric with lifelink, and when it enters the battlefield, if it enters from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, exile it. If you do, create a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying, as well as Cage Zombie. This is a 2/3 zombie, and for 1 and a black, you can tap it for each opponent to lose 2 life. Activate this ability only if a creature died this turn. Red doesn't have anything good to cast, and so we're just going to hold on red, and then we will go to the end step. At the end step, we'll use the Harvester again. Black will draw a Bone Pit Brute, red will draw a Swamp, and black will discard the Scorching Dragonfire. Red will discard the Mountain. We'll untap. Black draws a Skeleton Archer, red draws a Shock. Red will play the Swamp, black will play the Windscarred Crag. This is a land, enters the battlefield, tap, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life, and you can tap it for red and white. We'll gain a life, take us up to 21. We'll go to combat and swing everything at the Horde. That's 5 damage. The Refreshing Elixir was milled. This is an artifact. It says when it is put into your graveyard from anywhere, each player gains 5 life. Because there are 2 players, we'll gain 10 life to take us up to 31. We'll also gain 1 more life from the Archfiend's Vessel to go up to 32. Black will tap out. We'll cast the Skeleton Archer. This is a 3/3 Skeleton Archer, and when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to any target. We'll target the Horde. And then we will end the turn and go to the Horde's first turn. The Horde will cast the top 3 cards. The first one is a Minotaur Younghorn. It's a 2/2 Minotaur with haste and attacks each turn if able. Next we have another Minotaur Younghorn, and finally we have a Altar of Mogus. This artifact says at the beginning of the Horde's pre-combat main phase, reveal an additional card from the top of the Horde's library. The Horde casts that card. When it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, the Horde sacrifices 2 Minotaurs. Both of these are going to come in on the attack, and one of them will run into the Skeleton Archer and die. We'll take 2 damage from the remaining one to go down to 30, and then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black will draw a Archfiend's Vessel and then discard the Archfiend's Vessel. Red will draw a Shock and will discard the Shock. Then we'll untap. Black will draw a Direfleet Warmonger. Red will draw a Swamp. We'll play the Swamp over here. And then we'll go to combat and we'll swing with everything for 8 damage. We milled the Massacre Totem. It says when it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, put the top 7 cards of the Horde's library into its graveyard. We milled another Refreshing Elixir, so that'll get us another 10 life, taking us up to 40. On the second main phase, Black will tap 3 mana and cast the Direfleet Warmonger. This is a 3/3 Orc Pirate. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, it gains +2/+2 and trample until end of turn. Then we will pass the turn to the Horde. The Horde will untap and then cast the top 4 cards. We have a Minotaur Younghorn, a Phobos Reaver. It's a 2/3 Minotaur with haste and attacks each turn of Fable. A Minotaur Goreseeker. It's a 3/2 Minotaur with haste and attacks each turn of Fable. And finally, a Reckless Minotaur. This is a 4/1 Minotaur with haste and it attacks each turn of Fable. At the beginning of your end step, destroy Reckless Minotaur. All of these will attack. We'll block the Phobos Reaver, and red will tap a mountain and will cast Shock, targeting the Minotaur Goreseeker. This is an instant that deals 2 damage to any target. This will defeat those 2 and will take 8 damage, taking us down to 32. The Reckless Minotaur will now die. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black draws Vetoed Thorn of the Dusk Rose. We'll go ahead and discard the Bone Pit Brute. Red will draw a Scoured Barrens, and we will discard the Traitorous Greed. We'll untap. Black draws a Mountain. Red draws a Liliana's Devotee. We will play the Mountain, and then we will play the Scoured Barrens. It is a land. It enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. You can tap it for black or white. Gain a life to go up to 33. And then we will spend 3 mana for red to cast the Liliana's Devotee. This is a 2/3 human warlock. Zombies you control get +1/+0 at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, you may pay 1 and a black. If you do, create a 2/2 zombie creature token. And black will play 2 mana and then cast Vetoed Thorn of the Dusk Rose. This is a 1/3 legendary vampire cleric. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. You can pay 3 black for creatures you control to gain lifelink until end of turn. We'll go ahead and go to combat and swing with everybody that can attack for a total of 11 damage, as well as 1 lifelink, which is another damage off Vetoed Thorn of the Dusk Rose, so we'll mill 12. We milled 2 plundered statues. It says when it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player draws a card. We'll draw 2 cards apiece. Black will draw a Blood Glutton and a Demonic Embrace. Red will draw a Hobble Fiend and a Kitesail Freebooter. Red will spend 2 mana to cast the Hobble Fiend, which is a 2/1 Devil with Trample, and you can pay 1 and sacrifice another creature to put a +1/+1 counter on it. Black will go ahead and cast the Demonic Embrace, tapping these 3. This is an aura. It says enchant creature. It gets +3/+1. It has flying and is a demon in addition to its additional types. You may cast it from your graveyard by paying 3 life and discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs. Go ahead and stick this on the Archfiend's Vessel, making it even more lifelinky. And then we will pass the turn to the Horde. The Horde will untap. And then we'll cast the top 4 cards. The first one is a Reckless Minotaur. Then we have a Minotaur Goreseeker. Then we have a Phobos Reaver. And finally we have a Unquenchable Fury. Each Minotaur can't be blocked this turn except by 2 or more creatures. So we're going to be attacked by all of these Minotaurs. And we have 2 blocking creatures. But you know what? I think we can just eat the damage and counterattack for the win. We will take 13 damage to go down to 20, and then the Reckless Minotaur will die. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black draws a Village Rites and discards the Village Rites. Red draws a Deathbloom Thallid and will discard the Kitesail Freebooter. Then we'll untap. Black draws a Swamp. Red draws a Mountain. Red will play the Mountain. We'll tap the Scoured Barrens for white, and then we'll tap 3 more mana to cast the Basri's Lieutenant. This is a 3/4 human knight with vigilance protection from multicolored, and when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. When it or another creature you control dies, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. Go ahead and put the counter on Basri's Lieutenant. And then we will tap 5 mana over here to cast the Blood Glutton. This is a 4/3 vampire with lifelink. And we will go to combat and we will swing with everybody for 19 damage plus 4 lifelink, which will get us 4 life to go up to 24, and do 4 additional for a total of 23 to the Horde. There are only 14 left in here, and we have a single artifact which says Vitality Salve. When it is put into a graveyard from anywhere, each player returns a creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield. Black will return the Archfiend's Vessel. Because of its card text, it will instead get a demon token. Red will return the Kitesail Freebooter. This is a 1/2 human pirate with flying. When it enters the battlefield, the target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature or non-land card from it. Exile that card until Kitesail Freebooter leaves the battlefield. That's not going to do anything. Then we'll spend 3 more mana over here to cast the Deathbloom Thallid. This is a 3/2 fungus, and when it dies, create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. Then we'll pass the Horde. The Horde will untap. Because the Horde doesn't have any more deck, it will just attack with its remaining minotaurs. We will block the Phobos Reaver with the Blood Glutton. We'll block the Goreseeker with the Basri's Lieutenant. We'll block one of the Young Horns with the Demon and the other one with the Deathbloom Thallid. That will kill everything in addition to the Deathbloom Thallid. Not that it matters because we have removed all the minotaurs from the battlefield, and the Core Set 2021 sealed decks have defeated the Horde on normal difficulty. We'll be right back for hard mode. It's now time for hard mode. We are going to only have 2 turns before the Horde attacks. We'll go ahead and draw our opening hands. Black draws a Windscarred Crag, Swamp, Kitesail Freebooter, Shock, Plains, Mountain, Veto Thorn of the Dusk Rose, and Mountain. I don't love the fact that we don't really have a lot going on here, but we're going to keep it and hope we can loot out. Red draws a Cage Zombie, a Swamp, Trader's Greed, Village Rites, Havoc Jester, Spellgorger Weird, Deathbloom Thallid, and Swamp. I don't think we can keep this hand because we don't have enough lands to cast anything, and so we are going to mulligan. Red draws a Walking Corpse, Sure Strike, Swamp, Spellgorger Weird, Trader's Greed, Mountain, Havoc Jester, and Mountain. I think that this is a keepable hand. We'll go ahead and take the Trader's Greed and bottom that. For our opening turn, we will play a Swamp and a Mountain for black. We'll tap them both and we'll cast Veto Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Red will play the Swamp and the Mountain. We'll tap both of those and we'll cast a Walking Corpse. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black draws a Griffinary and will promptly discard the Plains. Red will draw a Mountain and we will discard the Sure Strike. Then we'll untap. Black draws a Scorching Dragonfire. Red draws a Swamp. We'll play a Swamp and a Mountain over here. We will play the Mountain and the Windscarred Crag. We'll gain a life to go up to 21. Then we'll go to combat and we'll swing with our team for 3. And Red will spend 3 to cast the Spellgorger Weird. This is a 2/2 Weird, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then we will go to the Horde's turn. They'll cast the top 3 cards. First one is a Mogus the Chosen. It's a 5/4 Minotaur. It enters the battlefield tapped and it attacks each turn if able. Then we have a Minotaur Younghorn and a Reckless Minotaur. These 2 are going to come in on the attack. And black will tap a Mountain and cast Shock, targeting the Younghorn. The Younghorn will die. We'll take 4 from the Reckless Minotaur to go down to 17. And then the Reckless Minotaur will die. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black will draw a Mountain and we'll discard the Kitesail Freebooter. Red will draw a Scoured Barrens and we will discard the Mountain. Then we'll untap. Black draws a Swamp. Red draws a Shock. Red will play the Scoured Barrens. We'll gain a life to go up to 18. Because we gained a life, Veto Thorn of the Dusk Rose will trigger, causing the Horde to lose 1. Black will play the Mountain and the Swamp, and then we will tap the Windscarred Crag for white and a black mana to cast a Griffin Airy. This is an enchantment at the beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 white Griffin creature token with flying. And then we will go to combat and we'll swing with everything for 5. We have a Plunder statue here, so we'll draw a card each. Black draws a Scorching Dragonfire and red draws a Spellgorger Weird. Red will go ahead and tap 3 to cast another Spellgorger Weird. And then we will pass to the Horde. The Horde will untap and then cast the top 3 cards. The first one is a Descent Upon the Prey. Whenever a Minotaur attacks this turn, it gains first strike till end of turn and must be blocked this turn if able. Then we have a Minotaur Younghorn and a Consuming Rage. Whenever a Minotaur attacks this turn, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Destroy that creature at end of combat. And so these are both going to attack. They must be blocked. They have +2/+0 and Death Touch, and they'll all be destroyed. And so we're going to have to block with our Spellgorger Weird unless we can do some sort of hijinks. These are both attacking, and we have hijinks that we can do. Red will tap their remaining mountain and cast Shock, targeting the Minotaur Younghorn, killing that. And then black will tap out and cast double Scorching Dragonfire, targeting the Mogis' Chosen. This is an instant. It deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker were to die this turn, exile it instead. This will cause the Chosen to get exiled. And then at the end of the Horde's turn, we're not going to use the Harvester because we don't want to just throw whatever card black would draw into the graveyard. So we'll go ahead and untap. Black draws a Griffin Airy. Red draws a Mountain. Black will go ahead and cast yet another Griffin Airy. Red will play the Mountain and then tap 5 mana to cast the Havoc Jester. This is a 5/5 Devil. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, it deals 1 damage to any target. And then we'll go to combat and we'll swing with everybody that can attack for 7 damage. We hit a Refreshing Elixir, so we're going to gain 10 life, go up to 28. And because we gain 10 life, Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose will drain for 10. We're going to gain another 10 life and draw a card, taking us up to 38. Black will draw a Fetid Imp, and red will draw a Caged Zombie. And then we're going to drain another 10 because of Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose ability. And then black will go ahead and tap 2 to cast the Fetid Imp. And we'll trigger both of the Griffin Aries to get 2 2/2s. And then we will go to the Horde's turn. The Horde will cast the top 3 cards. We have a Massacre Totem at the beginning of the Horde's pre-combat main phase. Reveal an additional card at the top of that Horde's library. The Horde casts that card. And a Reckless Minotaur and a Minotaur Younghorn. All 3 of these will attack. We will block the Younghorn with the Havoc Jester, and we'll just take the 4 to go down to 34. And both of these will die. And then we will untap. Black draws a Swamp. Red draws a Hobble Fiend. And then we will go to combat and swing with everything for 17 damage. There are 15 cards in here, and we would have got some artifact triggers, but there are no cards left for the Horde, so we'll just count this as a win. And that was actually easier than the first one, mostly due to the synergy between Vito and the Refreshing Elixirs. And so that is a 2-for-0 with the Core Set 2021 sealed decks. Let me know what you thought about these games in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit subscribe. This is Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.